Let's dive into the world of tabletop gaming and painting with the Tippy cast. From rolling dice to mastering brushstrokes, we're here to fuel your passion. Join us for insights, inspiration, and endless creativity. I'm Daz.
And I'm Chris. So, Daz, what have you been working on this week?
I'll be honest with you, mate. I've been a little bit busy with work and kids, and obviously I'm going on holiday next well, as of when we're recording this tomorrow. So I've not really had a great deal of time to be painting. I've just sort of been sort of touching up little bits as and when I can. I mean, as I said, it's not been a good week. It got a good week for painting for me. Um, Sort of more as sort of just sorting out the general. If anything, I'm sorting out the table, trying to make it a bit more of a productive workspace more than anything. But the things that
It's murder when you've got stuff all over and it just feels cluttered all the time.
yeah, so I put some shelves up on my painting desk. That's got all my paints on it now, so they're not all in a heaped mess in the corner. My paintbrushes are now sort of stored correctly. And I bought a bougie purchase of a paint shaker. That's all now been set up. Just trying to make the whole workspace a bit more efficient. So I haven't really been doing a great deal of painting. It's just more been touching things up, um, just sort of doing little bits of whatever what I was doing last time. Just yeah, not much been on the table. I'm afraid for me today. What about yourself, Chris?
For me, well, I've finally finished painting the cart crab. Um, Took a little bit more time than the rest of the what you call them there, the reef rages, but I think it's definitely been worth that extra time. So he's one of the he's the big model of the team, as you know,
Mm.
and there's like a fair few things going on. So you've got like your crab shell to paint. There's like cloth stuff for the parasol. There's the metal for the card itself, and I was adding like a lot of like weathering and trying some freehanding on it because I want to try and get better with the freehand stuff. And I think it's turned out quite well, and I'm really happy with how it's looking.
No, the picture you sent me looked really good.
Thank you. I use the Green Stuff World Rust liquid pigments to do the rust effects, and on the parasol, it looks just like a really good kind of like just dirt and grime effect that's went on it. And then I've got some coat arms like moss green washes, and they are fantastic. They're unlike like the ink washes and stuff like that they do as well. They're just there's something about the flow to them. They're just a lot easier to use, and really happy with how they've turned out because I've got it on the cloth material. There's some on the metals as well, and on the crab shell because there's like the texture of that. Some of it is moss that's on them, algae even, and adding that just to kind of help blend into the green of it. I'm really happy with how that's turned out.
No, I mean, say the it's as you said, it is sort of very much a focal piece of the team.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm the same with my weight threes. They're the ones that I do spend the most time on because of their size.
Mhm.
Um, but no, the pictures that you sent over, man, it was amazing. So that yeah, the rusting on the cart was great. And some people when they do the rust, they overdo it. But I think with you, you've really got that balance, and it is less. It's not like a less is more, but you've just got that right level of rust on it,
Mm.
which it's just a really nice model. And yeah, it's you did the right thing taking your time on it. It looks great.
The liquid pigments. I've got three colors of it, so you can get like different stages of rust. So you've got like your really old, dark. It's almost like a brown rust, and then it starts getting lighter for the like your middle rust, and then your brand new fresh rust, which is like your bright orange, and just kind of blending between them. And yeah, I really like how this works. It's like my go-to rust effect stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I have something similar. I've got the Vallejo game effects. That only comes with two. It comes with dry rust, which is more of your brownie rust, and then it
Mm-hmm.
has like the fresh rust, which is a little bit more orange. Um, but yeah, I've also, funnily enough, actually, like prior to my week of I've been sort of experimenting a little bit with that chipping medium.
Mm-hmm.
That's been
I like chip and medium. It's not one I use a lot of,
no, it's the
but
first time using it. I've never used it up until recently, so I thought I'd give it a whack.
it'll be really good on like the World War II stuff.
That's the plan. So when I've got I wish I did it when I was doing when I base coated the tank because the tank's already got its base colours done. But I
Mm-hmm.
will be doing it on my Crooked Dice Interceptor, which is the sort of Mad Max sort of
Mm-hmm.
car. So I'm going to be definitely going to be doing it on that.
That's such a
Um,
nice kit. That.
it is. It's a really lovely kit. I really can't. Genuinely, I can't wait to get onto it. But I'm not really playing a lot of Gaslands at the minute. But yeah. So speaking of which, of Gaslands and cars and mechanics, that was a very tedious link, and I appreciate that. That was very tedious. Today we are going to be talking about some of our favourite mechanics that some of our
Mine
games,
is Mike of Mike and the Mechanics fame.
and I also quite like Lud Grundum as one of my favourite mechanics. And also I quite enjoy what's that joke's gone now. I've messed it up. I lost momentum. So gaming mechanics that we really enjoy in games that we play. I'm not going to bog too much down about like how it, the whole process of how a game plays. Just something what we think in that game makes it unique. That for us as a sort of way that game plays, like really stands out for us. And I think Chris, if I'm right in saying, are you going to start us off with one of our sort of joint favourite games? Don't Look Back.
Yes. So Don't Look Back. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it once before,
Mm.
but if you don't recognize it, it's like horror slasher, fantastic experience game. It's like your players are playing as like the teens of the film, or like the couple of adults that end up in the horror films, and the killer itself is controlled by like a really simple but effective AI, and it really does bring that feeling of a slasher film. At one moment, you've been attacked by the killer, you've ended up like breaking free from him, and you're running away. And then all of a sudden, boom! Steps around a corner. He's there. He grabs you by the throat. It's like it gives you those real like Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees sort of moments, and it turns that kind of the killer somehow manages to teleport an actual game mechanic, and it's like I say, it's a really simple AI. So the step one of the killer phase is you check the killer's location. He's either on the table or he's off the table. If he's on the table, are they in line of sight of a character and in the awareness range, and they're not in a combat with a character or support character. If they're not, then they disappear and re-emerge. You remove them from the board, and then you replace them straight away using the killer's MO, which is when they come into play, how they then react. So some of them, they'll move straight towards a certain player, whoever's got like maybe the most fear tokens or something, and it reacts from that. Move to step two. If they are in someone's line of sight and in the awareness, then you move to step two. If they're in combat, then you move to step three. If they're off the table and haven't been placed yet, so the first turn they might not have been placed. So you come to turn two. You move to step four. If it's a turn after they have killed a character, So it's the save or the kill rule. They're placed on the board using their MO. So you move to step 2. If it's a turn after they were driven off, so the player characters have dealt enough damage to kill the killer, but the killer never dies. He always gets back up, as we all know. Then they're placed on the board in the same way, using their MO, and you move to step 2. Like I say, when it sounds like a lot of things that you're going through, but when you're playing the game, it's a really smooth process because you're just looking at those key points. Are they on the board? Yes. If that, then this, or this, or this. So it's like a really fluid way of doing it.
Oh yeah, I mean,
And
if anything, trying to explain it is, it takes longer than if you just
mhm,
looked. It's very much like an engineering flowchart. If this is happening, this is what
yeah,
happens. On paper, it's actually simpler on paper than it is to try and explain it verbally.
yeah.
But we have to, obviously, because you can't see what we can see.
In the rule book itself as well, it gives examples for each of those ones. So if you might not quite understand, let's say when you're in the are you in a line of sight and awareness range, because it's not either or, it's both. So you get it gives you some in-game examples with it, so it does break it down really easy for you. And step 2 of the killer phase is you move the killer. So if they're already on the board and they're not in combat, then they'll move. If they're just being placed on the board, then they go straight to moving. Step 3 is the killer attacks. So if they're in combat, boom, straight to that. Step 4, flip the light tokens. And the light tokens, they can create or you can remove the sanctuary for the players. So most of the killers can't move into a light token space, and each turn they're flipping on and off. So it's always just like a brief respite that you get from the killer. And while you're in that as well, you don't. I'm pretty sure you don't gain fright tokens. So you can only take so much fright, and then your character dies. They're scared to death. So using your light tokens is a really key thing in that. And in the killer phase, it flips on and off. And yeah, it's good. I like that mechanic with the killer.
It is nice because, I say, it gives you that. It does really, really bring to life the essence of the 80s slasher film.
Mm-hmm.
That, yeah, they're just appearing out of anywhere, and you know, in that situation, yes, the more stressed that a character gets and the more scared a character gets, more likely they are to fail actions or to, and then you end up with the inevitable of, these sort of films that everyone bar one person dies.
Mm-hmm.
And it does really bring in that, and I like that as well. It is quite fun.
Well, with the MOs, it's usually when they're being placed, they've got to be out of line of sight.
Mm.
So you get that real. They're just all of a sudden they're just coming from around the corner because you'd go straight into the movement phase. So it's like it's got that really good thematic, cinematic moment,
Oh yeah,
and I love that.
it is a great system. Um, I think one of my favourite systems that I do enjoy as well is, now, obviously, I've mentioned that I've been painting Soviet Russians. I do occasionally play bolt action. I play with my dad more frequently than not because he collects a lot of bolt action. One of the reasons I like bolt action as a World War II game, I've played other World War II games, couldn't really get on with them.
Mhm.
What I like about bolt action, to bring that sort of uncertainty, if you want to call it uncertainty of war, to sort of the table. Each side has order dice, so you get an order dice or a command dice for every unit that you have, and then it goes into a bag or a cup or a bowl. something that you can't see into, basically.
Mhm.
Shuffles it all up, and then each time one of you will just pull a dice out at random. For example, when I play with my Soviets, I use the Soviet dice, which are red and yellow,
Mhm.
and then my dad has grey and black ones for his Germans. So you could pull out a dice, and if it's your colour dice, you get to do something with a unit first. And
Mhm.
on those order dice have different orders. So you have ambush, run, advance, fire, down. So you would pick what you want that particular unit to do.
Mhm.
And then obviously as the game goes on and units die or or they retreat or such, you lose the dice. So obviously if the unit's destroyed, you lose the dice. So that dice then doesn't go back into the bag, doesn't go back into, at the end of once all the units have moved, doesn't go back into the bag.
Mhm. So
And
it's a
what's
constantly evolving
yes,
set of actions.
so obviously if you start losing units and you start losing things in realistic terms in war, you're not very likely to succeed now
Mhm.
because you're losing units. They've just got more people than you, and that element of it where the randomness and also the less and less units you've got, the less likely you are to do anything, does sort of really come into play.
Mhm.
And that sort of randomness and the sort of tide of war, if you will, comes really into play because you're losing dice if you're losing troops. Less troops you've got, less likely you are to do anything. Um, but the dice themselves. So when you have an advance, so advance means you can move and fire. Obviously, with
Mhm.
certain weapons like LMGs, you lose accuracy. Then you have run, which is you would make 2 move actions, but you won't be able to
Mhm.
fire. Shoot, pretty self-explanatory. Ambush is a good one. So ambush is your troops will stay still, but if anyone crosses sort of like their field of vision or their firing arc, you can then take a shot at them if they cross.
So it's like an Overwatch,
Yes, so you give
an
up.
Overwatch action.
So you give up movement and an action that turn, realistically, in
Mhm.
case something happens. There,
That's
that
like interrupt the series of play. So
yes,
set your sniper nest somewhere, looking down there. Other person moves the team. Your sniper then cracks a shot off.
yeah, exactly that. That's generally how I use it. I'll have either armor, or I'll have like an artillery piece, or a sniper team on ambush, waiting. Well, here's another what's cool as well. So if you have like an artillery piece, if you've got it like
Mm.
arced fire, obviously it can't see a lot. If you're going to fire over buildings, it can't see anything unless
Mhm.
you have a forward observer. So effectively,
Someone to mark targets.
yeah. So I tend to put them on ambush. So anytime I see anything, enter an area I don't want anything.
Mhm.
For example, if my dad is playing his Germans and he's taken a few panzers,
Mhm.
I've got anti-tank artillery where I can be like, well, no, I don't want your tanks going there. So I'll have a forward observer hidden somewhere. And anytime a tank on ambush, anytime a tank or anything comes within that little area, I'm just like, nah. But also as well, the longer you continually fire into the same area, your artillery zeroes in, so it becomes
Mhm.
more accurate in that area because they've constantly firing into the same area. They've kind of
Yeah,
effectively zeroed in and got their eye in, and that is quite a fun thing. But
that's pretty cool. I like that
yeah,
that idea.
and obviously once if you've got people, you can pin people down like other your opponents, and you can pin them down to stop them moving or to stop them shooting because obviously they're pinned and suppressing fire and stuff, which is also very nice. One thing I do like about what Warlord Games do, well, Osprey Publishing write the rule books, but Warlord Games create the figures.
Mhm.
The Each nation of bolt action has their own sort of special rules that will be specific to them. So I couldn't tell you all of them, but I know for a fact that the Soviet Union, because I know that's just the one I collect, they have a rule that's called quantity is a quality of its own, which was something that Joseph Stalin famously said about the Red Army during World War II. That, okay, we might not be the best, but we have so many people that we can make up that lack of quality with more people.
Yeah.
And what that
Just
means
feed them to the grinder.
what that means for me, is when I build my force and when I put my points together, I get a free unit of inexperienced troops. I get a free infantry unit, just free, and it's like, oh, here's all my points, and they go, oh, that's cool, and then it's like, and here's my free unit of infantry, and it's like, so you just get extra people, yeah. The British, I think, get extra, something to do with, I think it's artillery. They get extra things with. The Germans used it because they've got the FG-42. I think they get some stuff with their LMGs and various things. There's lots about it, and they say all different nations will have different things. Oh, I do believe the Japanese forces have the Banzai, which obviously like they can re-roll charges and stuff. So yeah, and I love that aspect of it, that they've really taken that time to sort of really link it. And I'll tell you what, this isn't actually anything to do with the mechanics, but if you ever do, I mean, are you a bolt action player, Chris? Or
I've never played it. I own one Warlord's vehicle, and it's a Sherman Firefly, because I wanted a cool tank to use in The Walking Dead.
When they write the books, the Osprey Publishing,
and Mars Attacks.
When Osprey Publishing write the books, there's just little snippets of that they put in there that are generally really funny, but have also actually been said. Another force that my dad collects is US Airborne, and yes, he's painted them after the 101st Screaming Eagles. There's a line in the book for the US Airborne that says, goes, "By God, Sergeant, we're surrounded," and he says, "We're airborne, sir. We're supposed to be." And it's the little tidbits like that when they're throughout the book, which also is really, really funny. But yeah, there's also the FUBAR rule, which it's not a German word. It is a completely made up US word. As this is before the watershed, I'm not gonna say what it stands for. If you know, you know.
Before beyond all recognition.
So that's if you like. It's almost the best way of saying like a critical fail in something. And there's a whole FUBAR scale as well. But yeah, I don't play bolt action enough, and I really should. But yeah, just the command dice for me in that is what I think is what really sets that apart from other World War II games. Just because, you know, it really replicates that tide of war and the randomness of war. Yeah, and I just really do enjoy that aspect of it.
I'm now thinking of reskinning bolt action as aliens. Just having like the what is it? Quantity is a quality of its own. That's just your colonists. You know, you're getting some extra colonists like that. Maybe you've got the security team there, and then a couple of the scavas are there as well, and just holding out.
Oh, it also feels very Tyranid-like, doesn't it? Like, oh, I don't need great troops. I could just have a lot of them.
Yeah.
But it is.
That was pretty cool.
But yeah. Speaking of Alien, I believe that is your next topic.
It's almost as if that's what I was segueing to.
It's
that,
good.
And I just absolutely love Alien. So Free League, they're doing an Alien RPG, and I've got every book that they've put out for it, and it's all amazing. It just adds so much lore and stuff. But that's not what I'm here to talk about, because I will talk about it for hours. They've got something called the stress dice. They use it in a couple of the other games they do, but I've got two of their games that use it, and they both use it in a slightly different way. So it's RPG game in same vein as like your Dungeons and Dragons and things like that. And it's just you played using d6s, so your normal six-sided dice. And your modifiers add and remove dice to a dice pool. And yeah, you succeed on sixes, and your harder tests require more sixes to be rolled. Your easier ones, you just need a6. And as events unfold in the game, or if you push your rolls where you re-roll any dice that isn't a six, then yeah, you start to build up stress on your characters, and then you start adding more dice to the dice pool, and you'll always have these dice in there, and so like a modifier to plus a dice or minus a dice that won't affect your stress dice. So the more stressed your player is, the more dice you get in a roll, which is good because you've got more chances of rolling those sixes. But on these dice, and the you'll use a different coloured d6 to delineate which is which, or there's like the gimmick dice for it. And in Alien, on the stress dice, the one has a face hugger on it, and if you roll that, you're in a bad spot. Because in Alien, if you roll a 1 on your stress dice, you panic. It does away with any successes. You could roll 10 dice, 10 base dice, 1 stress dice. You've rolled 10 sixes and 1 on that stress dice. Those 10 sixes don't matter anymore because you've panicked. You've got a xenomorph bearing down on you. You're trying to cut through a weld on a barricaded door, and you end up rolling on a panic table, and you add your stress level to your d6 roll, and the result is what happens. So it could be, you manage to hold your nerve. You've lost your successes, but you're good to go for the next turn. Or maybe you drop a tool or a weapon that you've got in your hand at the time. So that example of cutting through the weld, you end up panicking. You just drop. Like your mind just like flashes. You drop the tool. Or you could go berserk. And with that, like when you go berserk, that's quite a low down. So you kind of that's going to be as you get more stressed to get to that level. But you attack the nearest person or creature. So that could be the xenomorph that's running right in front of you, and you unload your flame unit into the alien. Or maybe you use your pistol against your pilot and you take them out, and now you don't have anyone who can suitably fly the drop ship away from the base that you're at. So it's like the stress dice really messes everything up for you in a way that you want it to happen in an RPG. Because as good as it is to succeed in things, the best moments come from failure, and just not succeeding in something is it's a failure in itself. But when you can create these moments, so your guy might freeze up, and someone else has to kind of step in. They kind of step away from their plan to save you, and yeah, you're creating those cool story elements within your campaign, and I think that's hard to beat. And the way that Free League use the stress dice in The Walking Dead, which uses the d6s as well, it kind of takes away some of the chart for panicking, and it makes it more of an organic thing. So it could be, you know, as you're doing something. Again, I'll use a barricaded door as an example. You're trying to destroy that barricade with your crowbar or something, and to escape a trap. with how it works in The Walking Dead, your successes still remain. It's just that panic then alters the outcome slightly. So you get your success for that. You've panicked. So the DM thinks, well, maybe as you've broke through the barricade, only a bit of that door's like come away.
Mm.
So the negative for it is you're not all just going to be able to run through that doorway. You've got to take a bit longer to actually crawl through the gap, meaning those walkers are coming closer to you every second. And
So almost in a way where it's like you're still successful, but just not as successful as you initially hoped you were going to be.
yeah,
Okay.
I think I like how both of those things work. I think I like the Walking Dead one a little bit more
Mm.
because like the player still has that agency, and I mean the DM's discretion for it. So in Alien, it might be a time where, yeah, you know what, you can do that, but this is going to happen, or I'm going to hold that failure for something later down the line. It might make a test harder later on, like still to do with what you've just done. So you've hacked into a system, and then you've like your panic dice is kicked in. You might not be getting attacked, but it's just kind of like what's happening in that moment.
Mm.
So it's like, yeah, you're not gonna drop your tool and stuff like that, but maybe while you're hacking on that system without realizing it, you've done something to there for like a hack test later on in this area. Maybe you've completely shut off like the air filtration system or something like that, and it's like the aliens are getting in through the vents because of it.
Yeah.
No, it's all up to the DM's discretion with it, really. But I think having both of those ways of using the stress dice, I think it really works really well. And for being the same mechanic in essence, you're getting two different styles from it.
Well, that is that's pretty cool. I mean, so it sounds like it does work similarly. There you go. To like obviously advantage disadvantage in D&D, but obviously more in a sense and making it a bit more thematic to those things, because obviously both of those games do sound like more your survival RPGs as opposed to more of a questing
Yeah,
RPG that would be Dungeons and Dragons. So really,
definitely with The Walking Dead, it's a lot more survival
yeah,
bent to it. With the Alien one, it promotes two different ways of playing. So there's campaign play and cinematic play. Cinematic play is if you're a player, don't expect to live. You might end up with the final girl. You might have Ripley there. Obviously not Ripley, but that sort of like lone survivor at the end. Or everyone dies. It's Alien. You're not the main character of the film. You're the guys on LV-426 who are dead by time the Colonial Marines drop. Or there's the campaign play where it says don't use the xenomorphs all the time. Like there's a whole thing going on of wars with the Union of Progressive People's Space Communists, the three world empire, which is like England, Japan, and a bunch of other like conglomerated countries who have joined together, and the United Americas. So you've kind of got like the way that people are like the tensions between these different groups, and then you've got like there's other creatures where the Marines have been on like bug hunts and stuff like that. It's not all just xenomorphs. There's other things within the universe of Alien that the books go into, and it's like your campaign play uses that more than your cinematic ones. Your cinematic ones are very much you're going in, you're going to fight a xenomorph very quickly.
which hey, again,
And
you
that's what you're
said
playing Alien for.
that's what you play Alien for.
Everyone wants to be Hicks, so
Well, it is what it is. I mean, do you know what though? After hearing you talk about that, I might genuinely have a look at the Walking Dead RPG, and then we might have an online let's play of that, and we might
That'd be cool.
get on that. Because I did like The Walking Dead.
In The Walking Dead, there are solo rules
Mhm.
that I kind of want to make work for Alien, because I'd love to do like a solo thing
Yeah.
on that, where it's you create a character, like a main character essentially, and a secondary character.
Okay.
Because in the Walking Dead game, there's a lot of things where it's your character and someone that they're connected to, so that kind of helps ground your character a little bit. Think like Rick has Cole, something like that. And the rules for solo play say that you can. It doesn't just have to be solo. You could do it as a GM-less adventure for like you and someone else. So you could either have you both have that other person, or you both create like your character, and then like use have that link between each other, and it's like it's all generated using the solo rules for that. So it's like that. That's easily something we could do if you picked up the rules there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to look into. So it's also as well. So that's coming on the back as well, because when you were explaining the Walking Dead All Out War, I was kind of looking at getting into that as well. Again, just through us
I
talking.
will make that video eventually. I still have that social contract. It will get done. Just it's been very hectic at work over Easter. I work as a butcher, so
It's a busy
Easter's
time of
busy.
So yeah, moving on to my talking about crazy and chaos. Another game that I like to play is Gaslands. If you're unfamiliar with Gaslands, it's a sort of post-apocalyptic death race game. Generally speaking, most people use 1/64 Hot Wheels and then convert them with gubbins from various suppliers, and then you play on a sort of, on a racetrack. There'll be death races, just normal
It
races.
looks like such a fun game.
Oh, it really is. And a couple of the dice themselves, these things called skid dice. I'll show Chris these. So the way skid dice work, not to be confused with skid marks. So the skid dice have shifts, slides, spins, and hazards. So to anyone who's never played Gaslands, that means very little. So I should sort of quickly give you a little little rundown what that is. So when you're driving a car, you want to be trying to go as fast as you can, as quick as you can. So shifts allow your car to go up a gear. So the quicker your car is going, more times you can activate. If your car only has 4 gears, your car will only move up until the 4th gear phase. If your car can go up to 6 gears and is in 6th gear, you'll activate more. So each round, if you will, is made up of 6 gear phases. So first gear cars all move. Any cars that are in 2nd gear move. So, you'll move 6 times basically. If your car's in 6th gear, you'll move 6 times, which to indicate that you're moving faster than other cars. Now, what's cool about that is with the skid dice as well, you can get hazards, which in periods of time, if you collect enough hazard tokens, something bad might happen to your car. It'll either wreck, or when you do something else, you collect enough hazard tokens, your car will just wreck, basically. Or something bad will happen. Slides, pretty self-explanatory. So on all of the markers, on all of the sort of templates that you have for Gaslands, they've got little divots in them, and there's a slide template as well. So what will happen is your car will effectively go into that marker. So prime example, I'll show Chris, but it's kind of hard to explain. I'll try and explain the best I can verbally, but it is one of those, again, annoyingly one of those things that it's easier for you to just look at it and go, oh yeah, that makes sense. So that rustling you can hear is me opening my template bag. Where is it? There it is. Okay, so that is a turn template. As you can see, there's a little divot just there. This is your slide template, and that little slide template goes into there.
Yeah, it matches up to the.
So if you were to go through that turn or that maneuver and then get a slide token, this is where you'd end up. Now, what's cool about that is that's not always a bad thing, because you might have picked up a template, and this is another aspect of Gaslands which I love, is if you pick up the template, you have to use it. There's no pre-measuring in Gaslands. And why I like that is because it's Gaslands' main thing is the rule of chaos, which is if you can't decide on how a rule plays out, you basically choose the option that's going to cause the most carnage. And
I love that rule.
It is.
It's such a good rule. It's like, never mind the rule of cool. This is the rule of coolest.
Yeah. So on all of the templates, you'll notice this little marker, this little bit here, and it's got numbers in it.
Yeah, it's like a phone signal strength indicator
So
kind of graphic.
Yeah, so that's kind of how that looks. And that indicates what speed you can go through that turn in. Like the top speed you can go in that turn. So, for example, the gentle marker, which is what I'm holding now, the fastest you can realistically go through that turn without picking up any hazard tokens is 4th gear. Any higher than that, you'll start picking up hazards. And hazards at the end of it, when they're counted up, are very bad. But you can start using, if you play the game enough, you can start using the slides, the spins to your advantage. And that's kind of when like the skilled player who's been playing Gaslands a long time can start to do things like, oh, I've picked up the gentle curve. I needed I picked up a tight curve. I needed a gentle curve. Oh, but I've rolled a slide, so I'm going to drift out that corner. I'm going to intentionally understeer to drift out. The same with spinning. You could realize that you might have picked up the wrong marker, and you can effectively just get your car to turn round again. These sort of things will happen in the game, but the big two things that mechanics of that game that I love so much is the rule of chaos always, because it keeps the game so fun, and sometimes there's times where you think, look, well, I'm not going to win here, but what I am going to do is I'm now just going to try and cause as much damage as I can before I go. Which is...
Well, it's like I was saying with the RPG things, the best moments are when you have that critical failure.
Oh, 100%. And also as well, the whole, if I've picked up the template, I've got to use it. I do love that about it. Because what's good about it, it stops that predictability. Because, like, if someone's pre-measuring, you're kind of knowing what they're going to do, and you're like, But if they're thinking about it, go, right,
you're always looking for that optimal movement.
Yeah, and I just don't like that. And it's just like, I like the randomness of Gaslands, where it's just sort of anything's going to happen. You can have a best laid plan, but you can roll a dice and you get all slides, and you're kind of like, huh.
You could have done with moving up or down the gear or something.
And it is just a great game. And what did you know? Actually, this isn't a mechanic aspect of it, but it is something I do like about the game. So, the rule set itself isn't that expensive. I believe it's like £20 or just over, and that's the original, just the rule book by Mike Hutchinson. I think that's the guy who writes it. The rule book is all you need, really.
Mike Hutchinson.
That's it, Mike Hutchinson, yeah. And I've actually met him. He's a nice guy. It's
buying the rule. Gaslands Refueled.
That's it, yeah.
In the UK, new, not pre-owned, because there's one on eBay. You're looking between £17 and £18.
There you go. And what's great about it is everything else on top of that, it's just as expensive as you want to make it. scenery, cars, whatever. I bought some laser cut tokens just as a luxury. Like I didn't need to buy them. You can copy the templates from the back of the book. It's got all the templates in it, so you can just effectively photocopy it and then cut them out that way. But it is just, it's crazy. As soon as you're like playing with like 2-3 cars and you're playing with like 3-4 other people, and you start getting into those later gear phases, and especially when like you're keeping the pack quite close, like you might have like the odd motorcycle just bowling, barreling off ahead, and you know for a fact that my car, my pickup truck is going to come nowhere near that motorbike. However, I've got 6 other pickup trucks around me, and it's just such a chaotic game when you start really getting into it. But
I'm just looking at some Gaslands stuff here, and it's like people modifying model cars, like old Matchbox Hot Wheels cars. Yeah. There is a lot of cool stuff you can do to them. It's like real Carmageddon.
Yeah. It's somewhere between like Carmageddon, Twisted Metal,
Wacky
Races, all brought into one really mental game. But yeah, the Rule of Chaos, the skid dice also are quite funny. Where initially, when you're sort of starting to play it, you think, oh no, that's a bad thing. But then as you sort of progress and you play a lot more of it, you're like, oh well, I can turn that spin, or I can turn that slide into a positive. And that's what I love about it. And you know what? It's criminal that I don't play it enough, because it's such a fun game. Really, really is. But yeah, it's. I mean, I don't even know if you want to call that a mechanic. The fact that it's just like the actual core piece of it that you need is just the book, and everything else is you. I mean, obviously, I've seen it playing with bigger vehicles. I've seen it played with micro machines. You just got to scale up and down. But yeah, when it gets real crazy, it gets really crazy. Like it gets very, very mental, very, very quickly if left unchecked, or if you've just got one person seeding the seeds of chaos.
The game looks like an absolute kit basher's dream.
Oh, it is.
All these weird bits you've been keeping in your bits box for 15 years. It's like, yeah, that'll all get a good use out of it.
But I think to finish off, Chris, with game mechanics, I think it's nice that we talk about a game that we both sort of play, which I think would be good, and that would be Carnival.
Fantastic game.
It really, really is, and we've said it before. We spoke about it briefly in the first episode. I say briefly. It probably took. It's that great game that's kind of halfway between a tabletop skirmish and more of a narrative-driven RPG. And one of the aspects that I like about the game as a mechanic is that the terrain in it is just as important as your faction and your gang itself. That it's
in a 2-player game, the city of Venice is your third player. And it's an important bit of the game,
especially because obviously when you set up the table, a third of it has to be water at minimum. A third has to be buildings, and a third has to be streets. So, setting up the board is just as important as when you set up the gang. And unlike most other tabletop games, it's not just a line of sight blocker. You can drown people in the canals, you can jump off the buildings and get, bonuses in combat from jumping from buildings. You're using the buildings as cover. You're using, your
difficult terrain is still a viable, if not way of moving, than a way of fighting. Because we've mentioned before, the Rashar, these big fish creatures that they operate at their best while they're in the water.
Yeah.
And not only do they move well in the water, you can't drown them, but they can drown you.
Oh, definitely. And that's what I mean. And that's there's not many games that the terrain is that important to how the
Mhm.
game's being played. Like 40k, historically, it's just line of sight blocking.
Yeah.
Kill team again, it's just line of sight.
Mhm.
You can climb up a little bit, but like other than that, it's not. It's not an
Yeah.
integral.
Even in the Walking Dead, yeah, like the your passable terrain, like clumps of trees and stuff, it slows the walkers down. It slows you down. It buildings, it's line of sight blocking. It stops walkers from just walking straight at you. They've got to move around
Mm,
quite a large area, especially compared to how small the play area is in The Walking Dead.
mm.
And with Carnival, it's like it doesn't really have that way of utilizing it. I mean, yeah, it's going to block lines of sight. It's going to make things harder for you to move around, but that's not its sole purpose.
I mean, you can even say it's. You can go with say with the buildings. You just go over them. You can climb the building.
Yeah,
Give
yeah.
yourself
Anyone can climb.
exactly. I mean, obviously there are certain characters that specify that they
Mm.
can't, but it's
Yeah, the big Mogra,
mm,
the huge sea monster things,
not that it needs to.
eh,
Um,
ostriches.
yeah,
They can't.
and what I'd say, what's great
Although I
about
wish
them,
they could.
what's great about it, as I said, it's not. You can obviously climb the building and sort of navigating your path through the city and the game board is just as an
Mhm.
integral part of like, well, look, I want to get over here, but how am I going to do that? Because I don't really want to go through the streets because that's going to take me forever.
Mhm.
And then it
Yeah, it's like
becomes
there's a real risk reward
mm.
situation with it.
And also as well, you start using it to a tactical advantage as well. Like if you're fighting on the rooftops with someone else, and you decide, you know what, I'm just going to throw him off the building.
Mhm.
That building, then that piece of scenery, in some respects, kind of becomes a weapon. And it's so yeah. Unlike most games with scenery, where it's just more like for decoration, or yeah, line of sight, an obstacle. In
Mhm.
Carnival, it's all very much part of the game.
Mhm.
And say the water, the height of the buildings matter. You know, and it really adds that full depth and narrative to the game, and it makes the game feel a lot more alive. I know if that sounds like that's a
Yeah.
weird way of saying that. It makes it feel more alive.
Yeah, it's
Um,
the game. Each game is a series of moments. It's not just I'm
yeah,
going to set up in this position, plonk my guys on Overwatch for when the enemy charges. It's a real like push and pull,
mm.
using everything that's in front of you on that table to like to its best.
Oh, definitely. And with more recent rules that they brought out with Blood on the Water, you've now got zip lines,
Mhm.
rope lifts. So obviously, like in Assassin's Creed, where you'd run up to the thing and it would fling you to the top of the
Mhm.
building. Those are there now.
There's like ship rigging and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
and like cranes where you can jump on it and it will effectively move round a corner, and it's things like that. And the terrain feels alive. I know that sounds like a very weird thing to say, but it does.
Hmm.
It's a lot more usable, and it's like, oh, well, it's not just there for decoration. I can now physically
Hmm.
use that terrain. Um,
One of my favorite things of a game that's done that is in original Necromunda, the Outlanders expansion. There was the green building with a lift, and it's like that's probably my first time encountering scenery that had an actual purpose.
hmm,
And Carnival just takes that to the nth degree.
it really does, and it's only getting better and better. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, obviously, it makes sense that you can't go inside buildings because obviously a lot of the fighting in Venice is done at night. People are
Hmm.
locking up places, but
I mean, the scenery kits do allow you to do it as well. It's if you want to have that sort of fighting, you can. It's just it's not necessary.
no. but still, it's weird. It's one of those things where it's, as I said, it's just as important as everything else, and it's not an area in the game, you know. And look, if you are going to get into Carnival, which I highly recommend, by the way, it's a fantastic game.
Fantastic game.
You need to be aware that like scenery is something that you will need to sort of invest some pennies and time into. Just because, you know, it's just supporting.
Even then, the card scenery that you get in in both of the starter sets, the big one and the smaller one, they see you for the longest time. Before I got any of the MDF stuff, I was just using the card gear, and you know, I'd stack a couple of the buildings up on top of each other to get taller buildings, and does the trick. So
Yeah,
it's a space saving, but going for your MDF stuff, although it does take a bit more space up, I mean, it just looks a hell of a lot cooler as well.
Oh, it really does, and
it does give you a bit more, like a bit more usability. You've got the like what do you call it, like pitched roofs and things like that. So you do get different elevations from different parts of it, and then your balconies and things like that.
And yeah, it is very much one of those things. But I think we are sort of ignoring the elephant in the room of what makes Carnival.
Yeah,
And I think it's
scenery's cool, but lots of games have scenery.
lots of games have scenery. So what's the elephant in the room, Chris, about Carnival that I think we really should, you know, address?
So Carnival has a lovely little dice called the Destiny dice, and with the Destiny dice, that is what is going to give you your critical success or your critical fail.
And it's that critical success or the fumbles on the critical fails, they will turn the whole game on its head. You know, prime example of this. I was playing a game with my dad. I was playing as the Vatican. He was playing as the Guild.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, he
I love the Rashar.
And so we're there, and he was trying to make a 6-inch jump with a Capodicina. All right, easy jump. That's for Capodicina. That's an easy jump.
That's getting out of bed for a Capodicina.
And fumbled it. He fumbled it, and ordinarily 6-inch jump, it's not a big thing. However, considering that he was 10 inches above the ground, so to sort of scale that up to human terms, that's the top of a 3-story building. And so he's like, oh, you know, he fumbled it. So he fell. But
tell me he landed on someone.
No, well, here's the best bit. So the Capodicina has the ability to, because he's acrobatic, one of his skills is acrobatic, he can re-roll jump actions, he can re-roll falling actions.
But you can never re-roll the Destiny dice, is that right?
Ordinarily, no. There are certain characters.
There's a couple of outliers that allow it.
There are exceptions to that rule, and that involves magic. But so he basically he initially fumbled his he was missing one ace to make the 6-inch jump. So he's like, oh no, he did fumble it the first time. He fumbled it, and he goes, well, I've got acrobatic too, so I'm going to re-roll 2 of those dice, see if I can salvage it. Rolls those 2 dice, still no successes, properly fumbles it, makes the 10-inch fall, and he's like, well, that's, you know, he says, I need this, because it's like that will kill him. So he rolls his dice to fall and make sure he doesn't, you know, so he can fall somewhat safely. Fumbles the fall as well, and it's basically, and he tried to re-roll it, fumbled it again, and he's just basically, the best way to explain this is the Capodicina just went splat on the floor, and then like you were both just sort of there, and he's like, That's not good. And he was just sort of sat there because it was like, he goes, that was probably my my most dexterous character that I had on my whole side, and he's dead.
And he tripped over his shoelaces.
Tripped over his shoelace trying to make a jump that ordinarily he would make. And that's what's great about it. Like characters who you'd look at like that, and the Destiny does just turn it on its head. I had the same principle go the other way with the critical success that I somehow, and only in Carnival would this sentence make sense, I drowned a ghost on land. All right. I'll give you some preface to that. The brewer from the Pulcinella's pub crawl is the only character who can drown people on land.
Yeah, I was just thinking, how do you drown someone on land? I forget the brewer allows that.
Yeah, because effectively he waterboards people, really, with beer. So I somehow managed to drown.
Great models as well. The Pulcinella.
Oh, that's going to be in my new and shiny things. Wait, hold tight for that. But yeah, so I got a critical success to drown the Black Spectre gifted character on land. I don't know how you drown a ghost, but I managed it just by getting critical successes, because I did it twice with both his actions. And yeah, I just got critical successes, and I took a good majority of Black Spectre's health right down just by drowning him, just with critical successes, because obviously you can't save those life points, you just lose them straight away. But yeah, it you know as well as I do that Destiny dice, she is a fickle mistress.
Yeah.
And you know, it will turn a game on its head. You could be really lagging behind the whole game, and then you just get a couple of those critical successes with either movement, protection, attacking, and you'll just get a couple of them, and they get a couple of fumbles. You're right back in it.
Well, the thing as well with the Destiny dice, you'll only critical fail if you roll a 1 on the Destiny dice with no successes.
With no successes
on any of the other dice. So, you know, it's not a common thing to happen in every game.
No.
Which I think makes those moments even better.
Oh, definitely. You know, and it's especially the fumbles, and you know what? When I'm playing Carnival, every time I've had a fumble with a dexter, you know, with an acrobatic movement or jump in or anything like that, it always makes me laugh.
See, my favorite thing, I think I've mentioned it before, was with the Lesser Ugdru, where he jumps across from a roof, across a canal, onto another roof, and gets into a fight. And that model didn't touch the water once that game. And they're a gang where their strength is being in the water, being at ground level to get people into the water easy. No, not this one. He clears a canal just to get into a scrap.
And love it. And it is, and you're very right, Chris. It's a game of moments, not an end result. It's and you know what? I think I prefer games like that, where it is a game of moments that you can sort of identify throughout a game, rather than just be like, oh well, I won. And it's like, yeah, okay, but
it's a game it's very easy to, if you know you're not going to win, set yourself a goal of something that your team would do.
Yeah.
So, like a Rashar player might just have what would you do in a fight? Feed one of the slaves to one of your creatures. You might lose the battle, but I mean, it's something that they would do. You've got that win right there.
Yeah.
The Cappuccina might want to jump from one building across to the other, and you might be 3 victory points behind, in like it's coming to the final round. It's like, yeah, I'm just going to clear that. That's a win. That's something that character would want to do. He's getting around. He's finding a new route around the city that he can take to, when he's not fighting. It's
I had a game with my dad. I was playing as the Vatican again, and he was
ooh.
yeah. The irony, I'm not normally one for organised religion, but they're one of my favourite factions in Carnival.
I'm a butcher, and I love the fish team.
But
Not
it's
even the team that's got the butcher in the team.
so I was playing as Vatican. He was playing as the Strigoi, and he had Vlad Dracula. And
Mhm,
if you're unaware of Vlad Dracula in Carnival, he is just an absolute unit.
mhm,
Um, but I just made it my. I knew I was never going to win on victory points, because he was just snatching him up, and
mhm,
I've made it my mission to kill Vlad Dracula. Like if I said, if anything's going to happen this game,
mhm.
I will make it. I lost my leader very quickly just from fumbles, um, and then Dracula happened, um, and I was losing quite a lot of people, and I just made it my life's mission for the rest. My mission for that game to just kill Dracula at any means possible,
Mhm.
and I took that as when I did kill him. I took that as my own little win. I may not have won the game, but I killed Dracula. Then that's something.
Mhm.
And that's it. It's a game of moments.
Yeah. We've got off topic there,
Yeah,
but it's now given me an idea for a future episode.
it has, and
Ways of getting just those little wins.
it
There's a
is.
one for you. So you mentioned it just before, so, the about the Puzzanellas in your new and shiny.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell me some of your new and shinies?
So, I have been down to TT Combat headquarters. I've been to the Trolls Den, if you want to call it that.
You've been to Mecca.
I've been to Shangri La, and obviously we all saw it. So when they did the Christmas calendar for TT, if you're not aware of this, TT Combat do an advent calendar at Christmas of new models or new releases that are coming out in the following year.
Mhm.
That's where we saw the Naturist and other parts of on the Wendigo and things like
Mhm.
that. One thing that was teased and on that was the Pulcinella Chariot.
That looks so good.
It does. I saw it kind of. They didn't directly show me, but I've got keen enough eyesight that I sort of, when I was in their little den, I sort of peeked over and I sort of saw
The,
the.
they had it hidden in plain sight.
I sort of saw some 3D sort of designs they were doing on the computer,
Mhm.
and I tell you what, mate, if that's anything to go by, it's gonna be an absolutely mental model. And if it's anything, if the drawing that they gave us is anything to go by, it's gonna be absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
But they did sort of run through sort of how it would work because obviously,
Just the guy that's holding the wheel on. It's like
oh, it's hilarious.
that is that faction to a T. Not even that faction. That sub
The
faction.
sub faction, yeah, and Pulcinella's are my dad's personal favourite guild gang. He
I
loves
love
them.
painting them.
Oh, they are. He's oh, whenever my dad plays and he wants to sort of put on a good show, it is very much just send in the clowns. Like he will quite happily flood a carnival table with just a mob of Pulcinellas,
Mhm.
and he'll use all of them. And it's I've seen it, and it's terrifying and entertaining at the same time.
The Puccinas are a team that in Blood on the Water in the like the story sections in it. There's a really cool story about about them just going through to fight the patricians,
Mm,
and it's just this absolute ever-growing mob of just drunken clowns running through the streets, and it's like that perfectly encapsulates
mm.
what they are.
Also, while we're staying on the subject of Carnival, couple of I don't know if people have seen it. The new releases that went on pre-order, I believe, last Friday went on pre-order, and I believe should be available to buy
Yeah.
Friday just gone. So when this will go out on the Sunday, so we're recording this on the Wednesday, so the Friday after today, which would be
Yes,
the
Friday the 5th.
Friday the 5th is when these all come out. Uh, and they're cool. There's 2 box sets. The La Grazia Industrial Works is a complete gang, and the Hydra Beckons is a sort of booster gang. They're not a complete gang in themselves.
Mhm.
The La Grazia Industrial Works, I also got a sneak peek of those.
This one is a full gang. The La Grazia.
Yep. So they're available. Yep, available 5th of April. Pre-order available. Sorry, 5th of April. So they're available to. If I understood that right, they're available to pre-order 5th of April. So the La Grazia Industrial Works is a 5 model box, and the main sort of focal
Yeah,
point of.
item on pre-order to be released on the 5th of April.
There you go. So the Doctors of the Ospiedale, as just again one of my favourite factions, just because they're very steampunk. They get to use really cool toys.
They have fantastic models, just crazy tech, but still very of the time.
The leader of this faction is called a Master of Arcane Security, which just sounds like a very long job title description.
Security guard.
It's basically a mech suit. Think Bioshock mixed in with a little bit more steampunk, bit more like a Renaissance Bioshock, which has
like if they did a Marvel What If Iron Man steampunk, Victorian Iron Man.
And weapons of choice are effectively a flamethrower and a giant sword. So accompanying the Master of Arcane Security is what's called another Ordnance Doctor. So there is already an Ordnance Doctor who has a spirit cannon, but this one has just got a new gun. So effectively, it's an existing miniature just with a new rule set and a new gun. Which is it says here the gun powerful enough to reduce their target to molten slag. I mean
it's an awesome Renaissance era melter gun.
And another they brought another. So there's an alternative sculpt for the electric cannoneer, which just fires pure electricity. I should say that was in the old La Grazia box set. Was an electric cannoneer. They've just brought out an alternative sculpt. And then there's one called a voltage bombardier, which I think is that sort of the gentleman sort of holding it what looks like a cattle prod, which effectively harnesses the energy of 2 madmen, which is the other miniature you get in that box, which is 2 madmen sort of stitched together. Which very HP Lovecraft. That's what I love about the Doctors. They're just everything about them is just weird.
Is that one not the Apprentice Doctor?
Might well be. Oh, there you go. And the new creations is an Apprentice Doctor, hoping that one of the creations will take Venice by storm. Either way, the models in that look absolutely fantastic, especially that big Master of Arcane Security.
I think the Electron Cannoneer.
Yep.
Will be. He's kind of got a weird gun, kind of crossed over him. He's got a backpack on.
Yeah, but
and the Bombardier will be the guy that's. It looks like it's got like a crank handled, like rotary grenade launcher.
Oh, that probably might be it. Yeah. The Hydra Beckons is for the Rashar, which Chris is very excited about. So
I love my sea creatures.
So this follows on from the other box set of the Mother Hydra. And basically, it's not a full gang. It's just Rashar's stuff never really comes out in full gang boxes. It's more of here's a couple of like leaders, and then build on that. But it's led by it's led. It's not. It's probably a hero. A mature kraken, which is in the picture, is the giant purple squid, and is a payoff.
That looks really cool.
It does look absolutely beautiful. The half breed, which is half octopus, half human, again looks absolutely fantastic and just the slightest bit terrifying.
Yeah, that is a really bizarre creature.
And if that's not an expert grappler, I won't know what is.
Yeah.
Um, so apparently the box contains 6 miniatures. I don't understand how because there's only 4 advertised on the picture, but we'll soon see. Um, unless they've just written something weird. Then you've got a new Sirena, which kind of looks a bit more like a jellyfish, but it is a Sirena.
Yeah.
It's just an alternative sculpt of a Sirena. And
Yeah, that does look really cool. Where the other Serenas have been more
mm,
octopus, this one definitely has like the bell cap
mm.
being where like our hips would be.
And the
Yeah,
an
that's pretty cool.
alternative scope an alternative sculpt of an Agalite, which again already an existing mini,
Hmm.
just an alternative sculpt. So realistically, in the Hydra beckons, 2 new figures.
Hmm.
Two new, yeah,
Characters.
2 new characters we haven't seen before yet in Carnival. Um, so quite looking forward to those. I'll be picking those up at Salute, which if no one is aware, it's the 13th of April. I'll be there at the TT stand. And
Nice.
my last little new and shiny is if anyone keeps up with Warlord Games, they put out to pre-order the Achtung Panzer stuff, which is more of a close quarters tank on tank game. I've seen a couple how to play videos and I've seen a couple videos online. It does look very interesting. Um, I wasn't 100% sure on the scaling, um, but it's worth having a look if you do enjoy your World War II stuff, but you just want to have tanks.
Hmm.
Um, I think the scaling might be a little bit smaller, um, so that's worth if that's kind of more your bag. I just thought I'd try and keep it a little bit more because there are people out there who just prefer playing historical
Hmm.
minis, whereas we do talk a lot about fantasy stuff.
Yeah.
How about you, Chris? Anything that's taken your eye?
There was something I saw today. It's Star Forged by Dwarven Forge.
Mm.
It's currently on GameFound, so like a crowdfunding site. But by the time this episode goes live, the campaign will have ended.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like they do put their stuff on their own website as well for general release. It's not just like a one and done run of stuff. And it's modular sci-fi scenery that you can use to create spaceships and things like interior ships. And it would be perfect for the Alien RPG. Uh, Blacksite Studios' Violent Dark, which is very Alien inspired. Uh, Something like Space Hulk from GW, or the sci-fi spin on Dungeons and Dragons Spelljammer, where like your fantasy guys go into space. This would be perfect for that. It fits together using a biscuit system,
Okay.
where so you've got little slots
Oh, okay.
in the bottoms of each of the kits, and there's like a little like a little like connector that fits into them, and it just gives it that little bit of stability, and it's modular, so you can take it apart, put it back together in any combination you want.
Nice.
And I just thought that looked pretty cool. Um, Blacksite Studios, notoriously difficult for us to get here in the UK. Spectre Miniatures are stocking them now. No longer with Modifius, it seems. But Spectre Miniatures, they do their own their own game, Spectre Operations, which is like a modern day military like skirmish game,
Mm.
which one of my friends has been like playing a little bit of. It looks really cool. There's like different military groups from around the world, so you can stick with your Russian your Russian faction if you wanted.
Yeah,
Is
I'm just
it,
looking through it now, and it's £85, not bad for a starter set.
mm, and like some really cool looking guys. So like you get your American dudes like your SEAL teams and the like your Marines and all that stuff, or you've got like your Russian forces. So you can go in with like the Russian heavy breachers. So like the guys with like the big full body shields and the big bomb armor.
Mm.
Looks really cool.
I just saw that they also have
Um,
SWAT teams as well.
yeah, it's not. It's like it's not all just military stuff. You can get your law enforcement gear, and you've got like your insurgents, counter insurgents, that sort of stuff, and some really cool vehicles, which would make for some good Gasland stuff.
Yeah, no,
So you've got like your Humvees, you've got turrets that you can put on the top of it. There's your technicals, so your flatbed trucks and stuff, and stick a mounted machine gun on the back of it. Have your guy on there play Gaslands with that. That would be pretty cool.
I mean, this is giving me
But
plenty of ideas.
but that's like Spectre Miniatures' own thing, Spectre Operations. And like I say, with them doing some of the Black Site Studios gear, it's not a massive range currently. I hope it expands out a bit more.
Yeah,
But you
it's
can get
just
the
rule
brand
book.
new rule book. You can get the brand new
Mm.
rule book for Don't Look Back, which
Already sold out.
is sold out
Yeah,
now. Is it? Ah, just wait for that to come back in. There's Hametsu, which I know
yeah,
you've been looking at, and they've got the bunch of Luna stuff. You've got the starter set, there's some of the expansion kits for it, like
yeah.
different models for that, and there's Demon Ship, which looks pretty interesting. It's like a small box game by Malev, who does some awesome painting. Follow him on Instagram, and I don't think it's released yet, but I know he's working on a fantasy version of Demon Ship, which looks pretty cool as well.
I mean, it's getting to the point with me, especially with uh, Black Site Studios, that I'm looking at getting into 3D printing anyway, just so I can get
Mm.
some of these minis because Black Site Studio minis are fantastic. Like I like the look of Himetsu, but what I enjoy about Black Site Studios as a whole is nearly every game that they produce has solo play.
Mm.
Like Don't Look Back, Himetsu, Luna. A lot of this stuff is all can be done single play because
Yeah,
the enemies all work on an AI principle, um, and I think that it's quite refreshing that all that's sort of what all of their games work on the same principle that the enemy is AI, so it's never
mm.
it's me versus you because sometimes I want to I'd like to play with my friend or like try and work
Yeah.
together.
A cooperative
Mm,
game where you either both win or you both lose.
yeah,
It's yous are in it together.
exactly, and that's what's great. But it's a shame that there's very little stuff from them in this country. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm blessed the fact that they're getting more. Everything that they do can be bought STL.
Mm.
Um, but I like having a physical, good quality rule book. That's kind of why I'm probably going to buy the new rule book for Don't Look Back.
Yeah.
Um,
That is a really good quality rule book as well.
I'm probably going to get the Himetsu one as well, just so I
Mhm.
can sort of read through it. Um, so yeah, but it's all in good time, Chris. All in good time. But I think with that, I just want to say to everyone, thanks for joining us on the Tippy Cast. And if you are listening to on Spotify, be sure to follow us, share us, Let other people hear us.
And if you're listening to us on YouTube, why not drop us a like and subscribe? And weigh in with your thoughts on what we've mentioned, missed, or something for us to look at for the next episode in the comments below.
And with that, it's a goodbye from him.
And it's a goodbye from me.